Here's what we've covered in this training course so far. We've learned about the characteristics and symptoms of ASDs. We learned what applied behavior analysis is, and it's important in early intervention treatment. We focused on identifying occurrences of target behaviors. We learned how to measure behavior through observation and recording. And we learned about effectively rewarding correct performances of behavior with positive reinforcement. Well, everything that you've learned so far is going to be used in the topic of this unit. Here we're going to begin to learn about a teaching method called discrete trial training, which we commonly refer to as DTT. DTT is a method for teaching a child new behaviors and skills, and it's a very precise and direct way of teaching. It's probably one of the most commonly used methods in behavioral interventions. In fact, it's one of the main procedures that paraprofessionals like yourself are going to be using when working with children with autism. And if you master discrete trial training, you're definitely going to be able to use what you've learned to master other behavioral procedures. Now, before we get into what DTT is all about, let's take a closer look at how behavior, target behaviors, are affected not only by what follows it, but also by what comes before. This simple model will go a long way toward explaining the DTT teaching method, as you're going to see in the next segment. Now, in the last unit, you looked at the powerful relation between behavior and consequences. When positive reinforcement is given to a student immediately after performing a target behavior, that behavior is strengthened, or you might say it's more likely to occur in the future. Providing positive reinforcement after a student's correct response will help us teach that student a new skill. But for most of the target behaviors we're trying to teach, we want them to happen when it's appropriate for them to happen. Suppose we had successfully taught a child to put his toys away instead of leaving them on the floor. Well, putting toys away would be the target behavior. Now, we wouldn't want the child to put all the toys away of every other child he sees playing in every room at any time, constantly putting toys away. Instead, we want the child to put his toys away when, say, the school bell rings or a teacher asks him to do so. In other words, for the target behaviors you'll teach, we not only want them to be strengthened by the consequences that come after them, but we want them to occur in response to something that comes before them. What comes before behavior to set up its occurrence is called the antecedent. For example, a teacher's instruction is an antecedent. If the teacher says, "Nathan, wash your hands," this instruction sets up a particular target behavior, hand washing. And you already know that after a target behavior occurs, we provide the consequence or the reinforcers like, "Nice job, Nathan. Thanks for washing your hands." Well, what I just described is a sequence of events. Antecedent, behavior, consequence. We call this sequence the ABC model. The A is the antecedent, what happens before the behavior, like the instruction in our previous example, "Nathan, wash your hands." The B is the behavior itself, Nathan washing his hands. And the C is the consequence, what happens after the behavior, such as when you provide positive reinforcement for a student's correct response. Again, in this example, "Nice job, Nathan. Thanks for washing your hands." The ABC model helps us look at behavior in context. That is, how a behavior is related to what's happening before and after that behavior. The model also provides us with a clear structure for teaching what the child must do, that's the behavior, when to do it, given the antecedents, and what the outcome of that behavior will be, positive reinforcement. The ABC model is very important in behavior analysis. It's really how we look at almost all instances of behavior. Looking at behavior in this way, we can start to change behavior. And we do that by changing the context in which it occurs. That is, by changing what comes before and what comes after the behavior. That's really the foundation of all behavior change procedures. Now, as long as you understand the ABC model, you're ready to learn how to teach using DTT. If you want to review the ABC model, feel free to do so. When you're ready, let's move on. Discrete trial training is a teaching method that follows a consistent format, and it comes from the ABC model. The format is this. The teacher provides an instruction, that's the antecedent, the student makes a response, the behavior, and the teacher responds to the student, the consequence. And this sequence is repeated many times throughout a teaching session. Well, as simple as it sounds, consistently repeating this sequence to teach a target behavior is a very effective method. The student learns when to respond, how to respond, and what's going to be the outcome of the response. DTT is a powerful tool. Well, let's get into this a bit more. I want you to watch an example of Anna working with Joey in a DTT session. Here, Anna is teaching Joey to choose the correct eating utensil, as requested by Anna. Let's take a look.
Joey, show me the spoon. You got it. Great work. Show me the fork. Awesome job.
Well, let's break down the DTT session you just saw. Did you see that each sequence consisted of the same three basic parts? Well, first there was the antecedents. In this case, an instruction and the presentation of eating utensils as choices, which was delivered by the teacher. Second, the behavior or response, which was what Joey did. In this case, Joey pointed to the requested utensil. And finally, a consequence. For example, when Joey was correct, Anna delivered praise as the reinforcer. Now together, one sequence of the three basic parts, antecedent, behavior, and consequence, is called a trial. And as you saw in the example with Anna and Joey, each trial is separated by a brief period of time. Well, this period of time is known as the intertrial interval, or ITI. Well, in practice, a full session of discrete trial training usually consists of 10 to 20 trials, one conducted right after the other. And the antecedent that the child responds to, well, that can change with each trial, just as Joey is asked to choose either the plastic fork, the spoon, or knife in our example. Well, to learn more, I want you to click on each of the boxes in the learning object that comes in the next segment. Okay, we've now covered the three components of a DTT trial and how a DTT session is made up of multiple trials. Now here's something important you need to know. Your supervisor, like the behavior specialist or the teacher, for example, is the one who's going to provide you with the specifics of what you'll be working on with a given student. The way that they do this is by providing you with a teaching plan. Well, this plan is a simple but important guide that's going to lay out the following: the target behavior that you'll be teaching, the materials you'll use, the instructions that you'll provide to your student, the order of the antecedents you'll use for each trial, the reinforcer to be delivered following each correct response by the student, and any special instructions on what to do if the child makes an incorrect response. It's important that you follow this plan to the letter. That is an important part of your job, and it's critical to the scientific way that ABA-based treatment and teaching procedures operate. Now, let me give you a very important tip. This is something everyone who runs a DTT session must be aware of. Besides carefully following the provided teaching plan, before you even begin a trial, you must be sure that the child is ready. Well, this makes sense, right? And the child may not hear your instruction or see the task if he or she isn't ready. Well, how do you know a child's ready? Well, the child's body is turned toward you, the child is looking at you, the child is quiet, and the child has his or her hands down and out of the way. Does that sound familiar? Well, you may remember that we called this the ready response. Watch this little reminder.
Show me ready.
Okay, let's put it all together. I'm going to show you those same two trials that you saw earlier. Now be sure to watch for the three basic parts: antecedent, behavior, and consequence for each of those two trials. Watch for the time interval separating the trials, and watch for the student's ready response.
Joey, show me the spoon. You got it. Great work. Show me the fork. Awesome job.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, discrete trial training makes up very much of what a paraprofessional like yourself is going to be doing on the job. So if you're ready to learn even more, let's move on to the next segment. Well, now that I've explained DTT, I want you to see a couple of longer DTT sessions. Watch closely to see how these sessions are conducted by an experienced paraprofessional. You're first going to see Joey working again with Anna. He's doing a naming task with some animals. The target behavior is Joey speaking the correct name of each animal. For example, if Joey is given a zebra toy figure, Joey should say zebra. Look for the antecedent, which is the teacher's instruction and the presentation of an animal, the behavior, Joey's response, and the consequence, the positive reinforcer, in this case the teacher's praise. So take a look.
What's this?
A lion.
That is a lion. Nice job. What's this?
A zebra.
That's a zebra. Great work. What's this?
A giraffe.
Nice job. What's this?
A zebra.
Awesome. What's this?
A giraffe.
Nice job. What's this?
A lion.
Way to go.
All right, let's take a look at another DTT session. In this one, you'll see Nathan working on an object size task. The target behavior is Nathan's successful identification of the biggest or the smallest of 3 cups, depending on the teacher's request. The teacher will lay out 3 cups and ask either which one is the biggest or which one is the smallest, and Nathan must point to the correct one.
Which one's biggest? Nice job. That is the biggest. Which one's smallest? Wow, great job. Which one's the smallest? Excellent work. Which one's the biggest? You got it. Great job. Which one's the smallest? Excellent work.
All right, so now that you have a good idea of what discrete trial training looks like, I think you're ready to try some teaching on your own. I'm going to set you up with Megan. Megan is working on identifying differences between letters. Megan is going to be seated directly across from you. For each trial, the first thing you need to do is to make sure she's ready. Remember, ready means that she's sitting in place, her hands are down, and she's looking at you. If she's not ready, click the Get Ready button. If she is ready, click the Present Letters button. You'll then see 2 letters presented to her, and you'll hear the instruction, same or different. Megan will then make her choice. If she's correct, immediately click the Deliver Praise button to provide the reinforcer on each trial. Be sure you deliver praise only if she's correct. In all, there are 2 exercises. In the first exercise, there are 10 trials and you'll get detailed feedback on how you're doing. To move on to the next exercise, you'll need to pass this first one. The second exercise is just like the first, but we want to see how you'll do with only limited feedback. We'll tell you at the end how you did. Like in previous units, if you don't pass, you'll be asked to start it over and try again.
Are these the same or different?
Same.
Same or different?
Same.
Ready. The same or different?
Different.
Show me ready.
All right, nice work. You have reached the end of this unit. So let me recap. We went over the ABC model and how the sequence of antecedent, behavior, and consequence is used to conduct a DTT trial. You also learned that a DTT session is made up of multiple trials. And after you saw some demonstrations of DTT sessions, you had a chance to try it yourself. Well, because DTT is used so much, and because it works so well to help students learn, your ability to use it well will make you an effective educator and a valuable member of an educational team. Now, of course, when you first start your job, you may be paired up with a more experienced paraprofessional or teacher, so you can observe first and then start to do more and more on your own. And they'll be giving you plenty of feedback too. Well, finally, I want to note that ABC model and DTT forms the foundation for most of the remaining units in this course. So, your understanding of DTT is essential. If you want to go back and review anything you've done up to this point, feel free to do so. Just move on to the next unit when you're ready.